Good afternoon, members, and welcome to this committee meeting of the Police, Fire and Rescue Subcommittee. Tuesday the 2nd December. Before I go any further, I want to just thank previous Chair, Councillor Ian Blake, for the work he put in the previous meetings, and hopefully I'll be able to do this as professionally as he did. And also, as I've noted, I'm going to keep the format that Ian started, and to have questions prior to the meeting so that gentlemen over there, or officers, can get them and process them. So good afternoon, members, and welcome to the Police, Fire and Rescue Subcommittee, which has been live streamed and recorded. The recording will be made available on the Council website for public listening. Remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting, writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. If you are in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time and write leave in the Teams chat function, and then join when you rejoin the meeting, so we can keep track of whether the meeting is quorate. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. Sedrent, apologies. Chair's approval of members' remote participation. Fraser, can you provide the Sedrent and any apologies, please?
No, thanks, Chair. We've got 9 members in the meeting today, 5 in person, being yourself, Chair, Councillors Dorward, McFarlane, Slater and Stitt. We've got 4 online, being Councillors Bell, Blake, Howie, and we've got Councillor Ben Dashper here as a substitute for Councillor George Jimison. Sorry, and we've got 2 apologies, being Councillor Karen Crothers and Councillor Hill.
I approve of members' remote participation. Declarations of interest. Do any members have a declaration of interest or statement of connection they wish to make? I'll take that as a no. Minutes of previous meeting of 11th June 25. These minutes are for noting. Are we happy to note? Okay, we have in the room today Chief Superintendent Stephen Meikle from Police Scotland, and although, that's it. Okay. Police Scotland, Dumfries and Galloway Local Plan Performance Summary Update, 1st of April 25 to 30th September 25. Report by Head of Thraming Communities. Stephen, is there anything you want to add to report before members question you?
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Thanks for the introduction and invitation to today's Police, Fire and Rescue Subcommittee and the opportunity to present my performance update. Before I take any questions the committee might have on the contents of the report, as I've done previously, I just wanted to briefly highlight some matters relative to the last 6 months which may be of interest to members and those who are viewing today's meeting online. The Chief Constable has a desire to invest in an additional 600 officers in local policing over the next 2 years to address harm and vulnerability, contribute to community cohesion, ensure public trust to share information and public confidence that policing can prevent crime and tackle antisocial behaviour. This is part of an overall resource requirement to strengthen our workforce, address pressure on our people and our policing performance, and deliver on our vision of safer communities, less crime, supported victims and a thriving workforce. Investment will enable policing to strengthen our response to digitally enabled and globally connected crime, to target sex offenders, organised criminals and extremists who are radicalising, recruiting, exploiting and abusing our children, and bringing illegal drugs and violence to the streets of Scotland. Councillors will be aware I wrote to each of you setting out further details on our resourcing requirement and budget submission for the coming years to the Scottish Parliament's Criminal Justice Committee, and I'd like to thank you for your support. In terms of noteworthy operational activity which may be of interest to members today, we've seen significant results in relation to targeting counterfeit and illegal tobacco and other products being sold within our communities. Police-led operations in July and September in partnership with Dumfries and Galloway Council Trading Standards and HMRC resulted in approximately 500,000 cigarettes, 110 kilos of tobacco, £15,800 in cash, and a total sale of value of goods removed is approximately £3.5 million. That equates to roughly about £373,000 in unpaid tax. Earlier this year, we launched Operation Believe It, and a drug enforcement operation where we executed 20 misuse of drugs warrants for nominals in the Dumfries area. This resulted in 55 stop searches, 8 drug supply charges, 35 drug possession charges, 360 intelligence logs, £80,000 in cash recovered and restrained, and £70,000 worth of illegal drugs. In addition, at Cairnryan Port, 50 half kilograms of cannabis to a value of £110,000 and £356,000 tablets were recovered. I'm also pleased to say that we've seen a significant reduction in youth offending during this calendar year by potentially as much as 200 crimes compared with last year. This is only a snapshot of the relentless demand my officers and staff face on a daily basis, and some of my colleagues from the Body-worn Video Project are also here later this afternoon to provide you with an update at the end of the session, which I hope is of interest to you. Chair, those are the main points of introduction this afternoon, so I'll stop there and happy to take any questions that members might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Superintendent. Now, we have some questions that were handed in earlier. Councillor Howie, Councillor Davy Stitt and Councillor David Slater. So I'll intend to take Councillor Howie's questions first if Ian is online and hearing. If that's okay, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Chief Superintendent, it's the issue concerning one that comes from our communities a lot, and it's regarding the enforcement of speed limits in urban areas. Just recently, Springhome, and shortly to be followed by Crockett Ford, will have 20-mile-an-hour limits opposed to them. They're the only ones that I'm aware of that are on a major trunk road. Can you advise how these limits will be enforced, please?
Thank you, Councillor. Thanks for the question. So, in relation to the enforcement of 20-mile-per-hour speed limits, you'll be aware it's the general position of Police Scotland. We do not have the capacity to routinely enforce 20-mile-per-hour limit speed zones. If local authorities decide to implement them, they should, in the main, be self-enforcing through the implementation of other traffic calming measures. However, should we receive a pattern of complaints or road injuries, road collision statistics provide information that a particular area is a cause for concern, we will undertake speed enforcement measures in that area. I've also checked with our stats team to see if enforcement information is statistics is routinely available. However, I'm informed that this information isn't available, as effectively every speeding offence would require to be reviewed to establish whether the locus had a 20 mph speed limit attached to it. Thank you.
Councillor Howie, do you want to come back in?
No, thank you for that, Chief Superintendent.
Councillor Stitt.
Thanks, Chair. Probably part of the question's been answered by the Inspector, but it was quite disturbing. Was it 2 weeks ago in the national newspapers between March 2023 and 2025, there had been a reduction of 1,670 police officers in Scotland, mostly some due to stress and with a job and others be able to take their pensions earlier. But he stated today there's got to be a recruitment of 600 officers in the next 2 years. But even with that recruitment, will you still have your full complement in Dumfries and Galway, or will you still be struggling to fill vacancies?
Thanks, Councillor. So the recruitment of the additional 600 police officers that I refer to is contingent on the Chief Constable receiving the budget settlement that she has asked for into Scottish Government. I can tell you within Dumfries and Galloway, our current budget is establishment is 315 officers. At present, we have 309 officers in post. But what I would say there is this figure doesn't include the number of road policing officers we have in the division, which is 41. Police Ports Unit staff, 26 police officers and 15 staff. And our custody division officers, 13 and 25 police officers based in the division. And I would just, again, can I give you that assurance and emphasise that where required, we are able to call on specialist support from our major investigations teams, public order, digital forensics teams, etc., etc. So 309 at the moment. So we're 6 short at the moment, but still always going through every ongoing recruitment processes. Thank you.
Councillor Stitt, you want to come back?
No, just like at least only 6 short, but it's quite disturbing for the whole of Scotland. Like when you're struggling to recruit, and you've got a lot of people leaving the business. And I just read another article about so many police officers have been off in mental health stress, and you know, has been off just short of 5 years. It's quite disturbing, that, like.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stitt. Councillor Slater, it's your turn to ask your questions.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise. It's about the 20 miles an hour, and the fact is that there seems to be no joint-up thing between the police and the council. But as Councillor Howie said, yes, there is 20 mile an hour in Springholm, and some people seem to be adhering to that. But you say there's no way of enforcing that. That's it's a wee bit worrying, that, I must admit. That's just happening, and you can't enforce it. I know you're short on numbers and that, but if they're going to do something, you have to have a way of enforcing it, and that doesn't appear to be happening at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. So just to sort of clarify and reiterate, so where there is a 20 mph zone implemented by the local authority, we do have the ability. The legislation is there to enforce it. It's simply a case of we have to prioritise resources in the right areas. So as much as I would love to be in a position to enforce every 20 mph zone in the area, we simply do not have the resources or the capacity to do that. And that's why it's been consistently the position of Police Scotland that where there's a decision made to implement a 20 mph speed zone within a particular locality, the first sort of port of call should be that it is self-enforcing for example, speed calming measures and the like. But to give you that reassurance, if we were to receive complaints or crash data were to point to a particular problem at a particular location, we would undertake speed enforcement measures.
Okay, thank you, Chief Inspector. Councillor Slater. David.
I have,
Hang on. You sent in 4 questions to the Chief Superintendent, which he has got. Do you want to read those questions out? Yes. Right, can you do that?
do them one at a time. One, I have questions. One is the situation regarding shoplifting numbers that are happening within our town of Dumfries and region, as this is a rising situation across the country, and some police forces regard it as a lower concern. Many shopkeepers and staff are frightened about this rise in shoplifting, to the fact that shopping staff, some areas are having to carry panic alarms on them. I just wonder what your thoughts were on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. So I can give you some assurances around that. So in the Dumfries and Galloway region, our detection rate for theft by shoplifting is currently sitting at 77%. That's up 10% on last year, which I can tell you is comfortably the highest in Scotland. The reoffending rate for shoplifting is 34%. That is the lowest across Scotland. We do have the highest proportion of under 18 offenders, which sits at 28%. However, this is based on a relatively small number and predominantly is caused by petty thefts, by school children using shops during breaks. I can also tell you we've recently secured funding from the Retail Crime Task Force to target festive retail crime in the area. So we'll be undertaking high visibility and plainclothes patrols and retail workers sessions in Dumfries, Caledonia and Caledonia Park in Gretna. So I hope that gives you some level of assurance to the degree in which we do take shoplifting seriously in the region. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to ask your second question, David, now, okay.
Sorry?
If you ask your second
yes,
question.
I'm just going to do that, yes. As there have been several raids in around our area within our largest town, Dumfries, it's the largest town in the area, there has been a number of cigarettes, tobacco seized, which you spoke about earlier, but it would appear that some of the premises, this is according to my constituents as well, are still open. If this is correct, why are these places still allowed to trade? Thank you.
Thanks. So, Councillor, as you know, I've previously answered questions at this committee in relation to the subject of derelict buildings, and it's not the ultimately the responsibility of the police to check these derelict buildings, but we will act on any information and intelligence regarding any criminality within. So if there's any information around potential cannabis cultivations, any of that type of thing, we will act on it, but it's not within our kind of gift, as it were, to frequently check derelict buildings, unfortunately.
Derelict buildings, yes. The fact is, can the owners, or should the owners be checking their premises on a regular basis? Or if that's the case and there is a cannabis farm, can the owners sometimes be charged as well? Because they maybe haven't checked their premises and it's being allowed to happen in their premises? Thank you.
I couldn't speak for whether owners should be required to check them, but I can certainly tell you that if there was evidence to show that the owner of a building had knowledge of or was complicit in any cannabis cultivations, if that type of thing, if they would certainly be considered as being out and part of any offences there, yes.
David, do you want to ask your third question now?
This one is about cars. Also, the number of cars that are driving around our town centre is increasing daily. The fact is, people walking in the car-free zone can suddenly find the car behind them. I can see the time where someone will be badly hurt or worse I spoke to at a recent meeting about auto ballers that operate in the city of Carlisle, and they work well. They have a code system. If emergency services need access, or shopkeepers or delivery are urgent, they can put a code in, and the ballers will actually return into the street to get their work. Also, this is one last point, but I'll come back if you maybe answer that. If you think, what I'm really asking for, do you think that's a good idea? That would be a way of reducing cars in the high street at this moment in time, and it wouldn't be too expensive to do. It's just a general question, what your thoughts are on that, really.
Thanks, Councillor. So obviously that would be a matter for the local authority, but if you're asking me, does that appear to be a kind of common sense measure? Yes, it is. You know, anything we can engineer to prevent any offences occurring, but that ultimately is a decision for the local authority.
Right.
David, you've got one last question.
There also a wooden bench seat at the port of the Vennel outside the baker's shop. It had been there for many years and was taken away by some people, but it was retrieved. The people said it had been removed because of bad behaviour. The bakery shop would like it back as a number of physical challenged people use it. So there have been, if there have been problems, do the police have a record of any instances that have been, and it's been so bad that some people removed the bench? If there is any instances, can the police supply any instances that the bench should not be returned, as it is well used, and the shop also runs CCTV? It's a fact, it's been there for years. Some people took it away, but it was retrieved. It's still not put back. And they're saying there's been a lot of complaints to the police and issues like that. But the bakery shop runs CCTV, and they really don't have any great evidence of that. But I just wonder if the police have, because it would be nice if the seat was brought back for the physically challenged people. It was a busy place, and if it could be back. So I'm just asking your advice. Has there been a lot of problems at that place, and is that why it's been taken away and the police have arrested people or spoken to people? That's really the question. And if not, then maybe the people would like the seat put back. Thank you.
So Councillor, I'm not aware of any of the specifics of this incident or these incidents in relating to this bench, but I've asked for some a bit more information and local context from the community policing team, and once I've got that, I'll be happy to feed that back to you directly, if that's in order.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Councillor Dorward, you have a question.
I do, Chair, and it's related to the information I've got in front of me. Got two. One is, thank you very much for the report, by the way, Chief Superintendent Meikle. And the first question is about the local policing plan, which says it ends in 2026. So when does it actually end? And is there what are the plans for consulting with elected members on that? So that's one small question. Other question is on it's about page 26 in the report itself, which is protecting people most at risk of harm. My colleague, Councillor Stitt, mentioned staffing and resourcing, and I think there's a shortfall of frontline staff in Dumfries and Galloway. You've said that, albeit small, and it's great to see that the Chief Constable has a desire to invest in 600 more police constables, but that is contingent on funding, as we all know. So I'm not decrying what staff are doing in the front line, but there is obviously been an increase in sexual crimes and rape, and I think sexual crimes is anything apart from rape, which includes non-touching crimes, non-physical crimes as well, doesn't it? So that correlates with the latest Scottish Government recorded Crime Scotland bulletin, which says there's an increase in both sexual crimes and rape as well, which is unfortunate because most crimes seem to be going down in terms of figures. But in terms of local crime figures, which are in front of us on page 26, the headline figures, just for my understanding, the headline figures relate to reported crimes, and do the percentages of detected crimes relate to those that were detected from the reported crimes? Is that how it works? Okay, thank you for that. So in terms of sexual crimes and rape, we've got, well, in terms of rape, I'll focus on that. which is quite a startling increase. We have 22 that have been detected out of 45, is that right? Approximately, given the percentages. One, why is that such a low rate of detection? I think 50% is not great in terms of that, and we are, you know, it is quite concerning. And again, out of those detected, I asked you a similar question about a year ago, a bit like Groundhog Day, sorry, but out of those detected, how many actually go to court? Because that isn't included in the statistics. And maybe that could be included in the plan, when we're looking at the plan next year. So detection rates and actually those that actually make it to court in terms of being considered by the PF, that would be really, really useful, because I think that will go down again. So you go from 45 to 22 to whatever. And in terms of that, you can't tell me this, but again, I'd like, you know, how many of these are actually convictions? And I said, you said that police don't keep records of that, and I'm not getting at you here. I think it's the justice system in general isn't joined up from that perspective. So that's quite a difficult thing to do, but I don't know if there's anything you could take back to your chief constable or somebody to say, could we get these rates? Because that would be really useful for us to see the figures. So, you know, 45 reported, 22 detected, X amount going to court and X amount convicted. We don't know that. And I think it would go down tremendously, which is not a great thing to see in Scotland. It's not just Dumfries and Galloway, it's across the whole of Scotland. It's the same thing. So if we could add that into the plan, that would be really useful. In terms of a question, that is one of the sort of questions, that's one of the asks anyway in terms of that. But we're currently in the middle of 16 days of action against sexual abuse. And on the 26th of November, the first marches to reclaim the night took place by women in Dumfries and Stranraer, which was great. So other crime figures, according to your reports, are decreasing, which is fantastic, so well done there. The sexual crime, including rape, are increasing. So what are the plans there to address that? And will they be included in these Police Scotland local policing plan, along with a column for conviction rates, if possible? That isn't within your gift, I understand that, but can you take that back and ask somebody to make it so? Thank you very much.
Chief Superintendent.
Thanks, Councillor. Okay, I'll do my best to cover off those points. So, first of all, in relation to the local policing plan, yes, it does. This year, the current annual policing plan expires effectively in the end of March 2026. And there is a process ongoing for review and refresh of the annual policing plan. And as part of that review, yes, local elected members will absolutely be consulted, just to give you that assurance. In terms of your kind of comments around sexual offending, so in the round, as you know, sexual crime, it does cover the wide variety of offences. However, as we see it at the moment, and I'll speak of the rape statistics or figures that you're referring to in a second, but the continuous biggest driver towards increase in sexual crime in the region is online offences, which is in the main viewing sexual activity or images or communicating indecently. We have increased our resources within our digital forensics teams, and this is subsequently generating increases. It's a kind of domino effect, which is leading to additional offences. And just to give you that sort of broad assurance, the overall detection rate for sexual crimes in this region is 63%, and that stands proud in Scotland. In respect of rape offences, then the majority of these reports are non-recent, and I don't say that flippantly, but they are non-recent, which highlights, in my view, public confidence in reporting this type of crime to ourselves. We're hearing from our third sector colleagues in Rape Crisis and Women's Aid that victims do feel they are believed when they're spoken to by police, and we continue to receive positive feedback about our specialist officers deployed to these crimes. it should also be acknowledged that there's a high percentage of reports to police that are made by victims that are known to the perpetrator, and the crimes have occurred within a sort of a domestic setting. The 5-year detection rate for crimes of rape in Dumfries and Galloway is 65%, which I anticipate will rise as inquiries conclude. So to put that in context, last year 88% of crimes of rape in this region were detected, which was the highest in Scotland. And the reason for that, that kind of lag or delay in the detection rates is simply due to the amount of inquiry that's required to be undertaken by the officers in the PPU. So whilst you will see the detection rate is at the moment, that is very much a snapshot and a point in time of the report being produced. I would anticipate we will be in a similar position to that which we were last year, where we saw that 88% detection rate. In respect to your point or question just around conviction rate, yes, I think we have spoken about this before. Probably what I would kind of caveat my comments here is around there are a huge amount of factors to be taken into account, you know, prior to a case coming to court and a conviction being seen. But you're right, we don't routinely gather that conviction information. I haven't heard actually the question being asked elsewhere about do we routinely record conviction rates. I suspect there are a number of reasons why we don't, but I'm more than happy to take that back in to the centre just around your points around the annual policing plan. So I hope I've kind of covered off all those points, Councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Dorward, do you want to come back on that response?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, yes, Michael. Really happy with what you've said. I think the challenge for me is nothing to do with you and how policing's done in Dumfries and Galloway, because the stats you're giving are going to double, I think, when you say you've got a snapshot. We used to have that, maybe a wee asterisk at the bottom saying here's where we are, it's a snapshot. And perhaps you spoke about the non-recent detections. They were in the last report, the one in this one, so it's maybe just having a bit of consistency. Sorry to be pedantic, because that helps when you're looking at retrospective reports as well. I just think it's overall, I think there's something that I'm surprised that more folk don't call it out, because it's not about the lack of policing, it's not about the lack of work that's done. I get the fact it takes a long time to do it. It's great that women or people are coming forward, mainly women, but people are coming forward to report sexual crimes and crimes of rape, which are horrendous. But they're still far too high. But that isn't your issue. That's the fact that maybe the fact that the retrospective reports are going up might be gaming the figures slightly. But it's not a great place to be where we are just now. But that isn't about what you and your team do. So thank you very much for that. Cheers.
I think, as Councillor Dorward has suggested or asked, there might be a point, an asterisk point, which you could put down to the reports in the future, if it's possible. Yep. Okay. Councillor McFarlane, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief Superintendent, for your report. It's quite enlightening. Just really to pick up on Councillor Dorward's question in relation to rape, if we could just get a little bit of clarification as to at what point an offence would be considered as being detected, because that maybe sort of just clear that up. But whilst we're on the subject of rape, have we got any sort of detail as to how many of these are stranger rapes? And, you know, obviously, I believe that very often the perpetrators in these circumstances are very well often known to the victim. But I've got a couple of other questions. In relation to page 19, we've got 18 confirmed drugs-related deaths, and then we've got an increase in drug supply charges. Do we know are any of those linked to any of those deaths? And on page 23, still on drugs, sorry. There are further 11 possible cases which are awaiting toxicology. Do we have any update in relation to that? The following page, page 24, is about road safety and road crime. And there's been an increase in the number of children that have been seriously injured. And of course, the council are rolling out the 20-mile-an-hour zones, and you've been asked about those earlier. But I'm just wondering, are you seeing any reduction in incidents of road traffic collisions in the areas where we do have the 20-mile-an-hour zones, just to sort of show it is actually working? And the last one, you'll be pleased to hear, is in relation to missing persons. We've got 200 missing person incidents recorded, which is in line with a 5-year average. Do we have an idea as to what sort of areas? Is it Stranraer, is it Dumfries, or is it right across the whole region? Thank you.
Chief, that's 5 questions you've got to answer. Thank you.
And I'll try and answer 5 questions then. No, Councillor, thanks for those. So I'll try and cover those off, and you can remind me if I've missed anything. So in terms of rape detections, it would just be the same as effectively any other crime where there has we've reached the evidence threshold to report the offence to the Procurator Fiscal. That's when the crime or offence would be marked detected. In relation to increase in drugs supply charges, quite difficult for me to answer that specifically. Probably what I would say is that for every drug-related death, there will be ultimately a line of supply back to that victim. So we are trying to target the drugs suppliers upstream at all times. So whilst I couldn't be absolutely certain that these are all the supply charges linked back to any specific drug-related death, the fact of the matter is, these individuals are involved in the supply chain, so inevitably they are going back to a potential drug death victim. I don't have any information at this time in relation to the further suspect 11 deaths. That's very much dependent on toxicology results coming through from the lab. In respect of the road stats that you're referring to, it's very, very challenging in respect of fatal and serious road collisions to identify. I am not seeing any pattern in the region in relation to specific causal factors of serious injuries or fatal road accidents. And I would include children in that regard. With regard to whether any of these accidents have occurred within a 20-mile-per-hour zone, I don't have that information. I would need to take that away to look at it to do a bit of a deeper dive on that. Missing people, this is a really, really challenging area for the police and indeed partners. But where there are no specific patterns or trends in respect of missing people. We do see beyond probably what I would say is children going missing from children's houses and local authority care. But that is not unique to Dumfries and Galloway. That is consistent throughout Scotland. So beyond that, Councillor, I couldn't say it was biased to one region or the other. If I'm being completely clear. Thanks.
Councillor McFarlane, do you want to come back?
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Do we have... I have Councillor David Slater again. Right. I have one question. It's partly, Councillor McFarlane has already initiated it. When you were talking about the missing persons, and there's 200, it doesn't actually say how many weren't in the end missing, but could have been located and therefore found and not, as a point, missing. That's on page 27.
Sorry, Chair, can you just repeat that for me?
Sorry, I wasn't trying to catch you out there. On page 27, where it says missing persons, and you've got 200, and has been alluded, and you've mentioned some for some reasons. Out of that 200 in this particular year, how many were actually found and therefore no longer missing?
Right, okay, I'm with you. So, in the current reporting year, we do not have any outstanding missing persons who have been reported missing to us and not found this year. We do have some historical missing people inquiries going back, you know, many years, to be honest, but none in this current year. So everyone who has been reported missing to us has been found.
I'm just wondering, Stephen, if in the future would it be useful to put something like that at the bottom? Because when I look at that and I'm thinking 200 are missing, are they still all missing? You know, how many? Where have they gone? But that would be possible action. Okay. Right. Are there any other members that have questions for the Chief Superintendent? Okay. I think that is you. Sorry? Right, okay. So I'll just go to the recommendations. Members are asked to scrutinise the commentary and performance reports for the Dumfries and Galloway. Sorry, the wrong one. Dumfries and Galloway Police Scotland for the period 1st April 25 to 30th September 2025 as detailed in Appendix. Are we happy to agree with the recommendations?
I think we have scrutinised it, so happy to agree. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's agreed. Chief Superintendent will be staying here because he has a further presentation after the Police Fire and Rescue. So we'll go on to agenda item 5. And we have with us here Area Commander Derek Heaton and Colin Wallace, who is one of the group commanders in Dumfries. Right. The purpose of the report is to present the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, Dumfries and Galloway local plan performance update for the previous 6 months, 1st of April 2025 to 30th of September 25. Do you have anything further to say to your report?
Thanks, Chair, and good afternoon, elected members. I'm pleased to present another positive report highlighting the good work that's been undertaken in the region in the last few months. I think it's important to note that there's a downward trend recorded across all the KPIs, which is testament to the hard work and commitment of the staff in the region. I think looking at it, there's 866 incidents in the reporting period, which is a slight increase in the same period last year, but still a decrease on the 4-year average. And where fires did occur, it's positive to note that they once again resulted in no or very little damage. Again, that's about early intervention and the actions of our staff. Of 29 accidental dwelling fires recorded, 17 of these had fire damage limited to the room of origin, and a total of 19 had the fire damage limited to less than 5 square metres. Again, testament to early intervention and the professionalism of the staff. Unfortunately, there were 2 casualties recorded, but that's a 40% reduction in the same period last year. And I will touch wood here, there were 0 fire fatalities reported in this period, which is with fire-related hospitalisations down by 40% on the same time last year. This period has seen some significant investment in the Dumfries and Galloway area. The training centre facilities have been given new carbonaceous fire behaviour infrastructure at a cost of approximately £230,000. These new live fire simulation units allow firefighters to train and hone their techniques in a realistic but controlled environment. The new rig has been designed to offer additional training capabilities, and because of the nature of the reduced footprint, has created additional space within the yard to allow for other training activities to be undertaken. In terms of staffing, we have continued to see some retirements from our whole-time station as a knock-on from the National Firefighter Pension Scheme changes. The local absence rate is well below the national average, is indicative of a positive workplace culture, and our day-duty staff, which includes training and fire safety enforcement, are operating at our target operating model. Worthy of note is our on-call availability, where the average appliance availability is at 87% in the 6-month reporting period, which is well above the national average. That concludes my summary, but I'd like to acknowledge the staff who deliver all these things, because without their commitment and dedication, this high level of performance would not be possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek, for that report. Before I open up to members, Councillor Dorr, would you have questions that you would like to ask?
Thanks, Chair. There's a bit of narrative behind it, but just to set the scene for other members who might not know where I'm coming from. You certainly will, I would imagine. Thank you very much for the report. Extremely informative. This is in relation to page 37, road safety, page 39, operational preparedness and resilience, and page 46, staffing. It's about the demands faced by the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service across the country. You carried out a service delivery this year, which is now closed, with the report going to the board for a final decision this month. That'll be interesting to see what they say to that one. And on the back of a pre-consultation exercise shaping our future, which we were invited to take part in, thank you for that, as were elected members from council to parliament level, so that's really good, really inclusive. So you've got a backlog of repairs across Scotland as well. It has cost 800 million for buildings, fleet and equipment, which isn't really affordable, given you've got a capital budget of 47 million at the moment, and 10 fire engines temporarily withdrawn, now to become permanently withdrawn as part of the consultation process. So none of this affects Dumfries and Galloway in terms of cuts or budget cuts. And prevention and reform are really what you're doing now, as opposed to being reactive as a fire service. I understand that, and that's the core of what you're doing. But there's been a dramatic and welcome reduction in house fires, but floods and wildfires are increasing because of climate change, and that's something that you would say actually affects here more than other places sometimes. Certainly wildfires, I think I spoke about that at the last meeting in terms of the strategic plan there. And we've had an increase, as we've already heard from Chief Superintendent Meikle, in RTAs and some of our trunk roads especially. So a lot of we're dealing with an increase in things caused by climate change, and the majority of our firefighters are categorised as volunteer or retained or whatever the category is. I think volunteer in the reports at the moment. So while fighting wildfires or flooding can go on for an inordinate amount of time. So that's quite significant if you're a trained firefighter in terms of demands on them, their families, primary employments, and multiple events can occur concurrently over a prolonged period. Unfortunately, that's what tends to happen. If you get one, you get more than one. So my question, after all that narrative, if you can remember that, I'm not asking you to, is do you have an assurance that budget cuts elsewhere in Scotland will not affect the specialist training, PPE provision and resourcing required to address and respond to the above-noted climate change issues that affect Dumfries and Galloway, I would say disproportionately, or the ability to respond to a severe RTA? And are we investing, you've partially answered this question already, but you said there's 230,000 being invested in training, but are we investing in our region's firefighters and equipment to provide an assurance to be able to successfully mitigate response risks now and in the future, or are we asking our firefighters to do more with less? That's basically my question. Thank you very much.
That's two questions, Derek. You got it all.
I did, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Dorward, for the question. There's quite a lot in there. In terms of the service delivery review, the board have actually asked for a delay in making a decision to gather more information, and they've asked for an explanation, and there'll be some discussion about what exactly that looks like, because the response has been so significant. And I will share that with the Chair for honoured sharing with yourselves thereafter. As you said, you spoke about volunteer firefighters. I think it's important to note that the term we're using now is on-call, and that captures volunteer and the old retained duty system. They dedicate a huge amount of their time every day of the year to keep communities in Dumfries and Galloway safe. As a national service, we've improved terms and conditions for people operating the duty system, and it's through the national terms and conditions that were agreed with the NGIC. Earlier this year, the local management team, which Colin's a part of, ensured that our staff had their contracts reviewed so that they received the payment that matched their time and their time commitment and received appropriate remuneration, which I'm very keen to see. The revised banding system for the on-call now more accurately reflects the hours that they work and offers greater flexibility for operational cover, benefiting both the service and the individual staff themselves. And additionally, we have a bank working model that supports our ability to deal with any crewing deficiencies. Excuse me, Chair, I know I'm going on a bit here. There's quite a lot in the question. In terms of the Service Delivery Review Programme itself, the service are seeking to better match community risk with appropriate resources based on years of data, and I can talk to you a bit off table about that if you wish. But I suppose in terms of wildfire, which is one of your key questions, nationally the service has invested a significant amount of money, approximately £1.6 million over 3 years, in training crews in wildfire and invested in new techniques, equipment and appropriate PPE for that particular risk. Locally, we have 2 dedicated wildfire stations, that's Langham and New Galloway, that have recently come online. They've received additional training on the new equipment and tactics. To further support the local response, 2 of my management team have become wildfire tactical advisors to enhance resilience, and plans are being developed locally to deliver a rolling training programme to help them maintain this attribute and make use of the station skills as well. We also have the wildfire strategy nationally that backs that up with the 4 key pillars round about partnership working, provision of information, prevention and ultimately response. You mentioned flooding as well. Obviously, we've got water rescue resources in the region and they have comprehensive training, and this is in line with the UK standards. There is a programme in place for flood responder training that Colin's just confirmed this morning, and that will be rolled out as soon as possible. We don't have any water tactical advisors within the management team, but I expect we'll add at least 1 in the coming year. It's really about timing of courses because we're looking at external providers for these sorts of things. In terms of training, I've already covered the CFBT, but we've secured a temporary post in the Dumfries Training Centre, and that will be subject to the evaluation of it, but I don't think it's difficult to say more people deliver more training, and that will be positive. We've been working with the FBU and crews to pilot a scheme to improve the efficiency of our staffing model in the whole time, and that will therefore free up more training instructor hours to deliver more training across the region, which will be aimed at our on-call colleagues. It will be the first of its kind in Scotland, and I look forward to reporting on that in the future. Locally, we deliver 2 practical on-call development days a year, and these are used to deliver general training updates. In our most recent sessions, Chief Superintendent Miko arranged for road traffic collision experts to come and deliver some training to our staff so that we can work better together, and that was well received. The Scottish Ambulance Service colleagues attend and deliver practical casualty care training as well to keep those levels of skills high. RTC training is a core feature of the National Training Programme, and crews have had training delivered at a range of off-station locations that we've arranged locally, including scrapyards and also involving with various vehicle types. Given what we have in the risk profile, quite keen on using LGVs to practice on, because they are involved and quite tricky. In terms of general on-call training within the area, it continues to be a high standard, taking place in realistic environments in partnership with organisations such as the gas pumping station at Beatock, the MOD in Longtown and at Carlisle United. In the West, we ran an exercise called Pectin that provided some valuable learning and skills. PPE is provided in line with the PPE regs, and if anything, we've been improving our availability of replacement and spare kit where required. Our recent work in contaminants to reduce firefighter exposure has seen significant change and investment in this area. Further investment has seen 2 new medium lightweight appliances recently introduced. Medium weight appliances, it can't be medium lightweight, it's just medium weight appliances recently introduced into the area, and that brings us up to a total of 8, which is a significant investment from us as a service. In line with the new decontamination procedures, stations have been zoned and additional equipment procured for firefighter safety. We categorise them red, amber and green and where clean areas and dirty areas, and how kit's transported and bagged up for that to minimise risk to staff. I hope this provides some assurance that locally and nationally we're not expecting crews to do more with less, but I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions you may have. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, I think as Derek has said, do you have any follow-up questions after that, Linda?
No, Chair, but I do feel supremely assured, so thank you very much for taking the time to answer that rather long series of questions. Appreciate it. Thank you. And I think people in Dumfries and Galloway will appreciate it as well. Cheers.
Councillor McFarlane.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions, nowhere near as long as the previous one, thank you. I'm looking at page, I think it's 57 on here, and we're looking at deliberate fires, and there is a peak there where it's around about 80, and I'm interested to know, because it's not really clear along the x-axis as to when that would have been, but do we have an indication of when that was and what particularly may have led to that particular peak? On page 61, we've got the home fire safety visits, which clearly is a big impact on the calls on your service. But how do you identify those? Is it, are they requested, or do you identify areas where there's perhaps a risk, and then as a consequence have book the visits in? And then right below it is fire safety enforcement. What does enforcement mean in that circumstance? What is it you're doing by way of enforcement? Thank you.
Derek, that's 3 questions this time. Thank you.
Thanks very much for the question. So in terms of deliberate fire period, what you're looking at is the hours of the day. You're right, we should make that more explicit in the question, in the graph. So your times tend to coincide with people maybe coming out of school, I would suggest, on the basis of that's peak there. We do have a youth justice programme that we work with in the police, and we currently have, and I might be, I think 5 across the east and the west of the region, individuals in the sort of young fire setters restorative justice process, and that's generally how they're identified, because we use the mapping data to indicate where we are, and it quite readily becomes apparent who's involved. So, question 2, in terms of home fire safety visits, it's a risk assessment approach. It's a series of questions. People can self-refer. We get referrals from partner agencies, and we go and indulge in that, engage in that fashion. And then it's just that, depending on what they score and what's been fitted in their engagement with other services, it depends how often they're revisited. And in terms of fire safety enforcement, and I hope I've not missed anything so far, and correct me if I'm wrong, enforcement is really round about business continuity and resilience, in terms of making sure that the property owners and responsible people are adhering to the legislation. So if there is a fire in a non-domestic premise, the team go and carry out an audit against the standard, and then it's to do that, to try and maintain business continuity in that sense, and if there's any deviations, work with the responsible people to mitigate any risk.
Councillor McFarlane, you want to come back in?
Yeah, if I can just come back. So in relation to enforcement, do you have any powers on which to close premises down where they've failed an audit, or whereby you've identified that they're, it's not going to be safe for them to carry on doing business like that?
Aye, thanks. Should I clarify? Yes, there are powers there, but that's very much a last resort even. We do have the powers to do prohibition and improvement notices, but the code of practice is about working together to maintain the business, because it benefits the local economy, and that is very, very much a last resort. I don't think we've got many notices served in the region. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Slater, you have a question?
Yes, I do, Derek. regarding wildfires, as you know, wildfires can be started with a bolt of lightning and such. But I used to be involved in the aircraft business, and I wonder, it was helicopter as such, but I wonder who pays for that now. Is it still the landowner that's responsible to pay for the flying hours of the helicopter?
Thanks, Councillor. Thankfully, it still is a landowner because I wouldn't have any budget left.
Yes, it's very expensive. One general question, really. You know how they're building a lot of new houses? Would it be something now that fire depressant systems are actually starting to be fitted to new houses? Because if a fire in a house, it can only damage one room sometimes, and the fires is put out. And do you think that would be a better way to go instead of whole houses burning down? If you see what I mean.
I think, like anything, all these things change as time goes on. The cost of installing systems is sometimes balanced against the risk. And if you look at, in roughly 30 years of home fire safety visits and improved community engagement for ourselves, we've seen nationally a drop from about 12,000 to 4,000 accidental dwelling fires. So that's a significant amount. The detection technology that exists is superb in terms of interlinked alarms, etc. I'm not sure everywhere requires a suppression system on the basis of the risk.
Thank you.
This is one instance when I can actually answer that question. It just so happens that lately the new houses that were built at Spring Home for Wheatley have all active fire suppressant systems built into the ceiling, so they've got a double ceiling. I don't know if Area Commander knows that. And if there's a fire in a room, it is automatically triggered. Did you know that, David? No?
No, I didn't know that. One point I would say, where does the water come from? Because usually there's storage tanks, because a water supply can be cut off, whereas in storage, the water's always there, instantly ready to put fires out. So that's important as well. Thank you.
As far as I know, that just comes from the mains, but it might be something that Area Commander, if he wants to investigate it at some point, just to check with Wheatley, because I know that Wheatley are doing this. I don't know if they're rolling it out across all of their new properties, but I do know that in Spring Home it is actually an active system.
Thanks very much, Chair. I wasn't aware that Spring Home had them, but I will find out and I'll let the Chair know. Thanks.
Right. Are there any more questions from elected members on this? Okay, we'll move to the recommendations. Members are asked to scrutinise the commentary and performance reports for the Dumfries and Galloway from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service for the period 1st April 2025 to 30th September 25 as detailed in the appendices. Are members happy to approve these? Okay, that's it. Right, any other business, any other business deemed urgent by the Chair due to a need for a decision? I have no urgent business, so that concludes the meeting. Can I thank you all for your contributions? And before I go, remember that we do have a further presentation by Police Scotland. Okay, thank you.